And for the first time since October, which is apparently a time that existed, the first time since October, and for the first time since we are in our new place where there is only us and the loud ass dogs and apparently a cat. We're in a new place. This is the new. It's the newish office-ish. Hey, cat. I'm waiting on my girlfriend to tell me how the audio is. Oh, she told me in a text. No, I know. Thank you for the text. I should have specified that I would have liked it on the screen. Thank you very much. I love you. But for the first time since October, we are back and we are awesome. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever time of the day it is. There's only one time, and that is, of course, the Pacific Northwest time zone. I don't know, what time is it here? It's 1:05 on the dot. So as you can see, we are right on time. Episode 58. We're gonna piss some of y'all off. What's the time? What is the amount of time I have to ask? I have to ask X. I have to ask X over at Utah Outcast how long you have to wait to cuss before they demonetize. Oh, right. We're not monetized. Come on. We're not cool like that. Hey, Roz, good to see you. Hit my head on the thing, but we gonna piss some of y'all motherfuckers off. And you know what? I just don't care. I'm fed up with a lot of you, and I know you're fed up with me too, Felicia. And I also don't care. Okay, so take your nonsense elsewhere. I apparently got a job offer today, so that's weird. Let's first, though, go through some other things and get some things. There's something that I didn't put onto the script today because I just read it from the Los Angeles Times. It's an opinion piece in the Los Angeles Times. If you don't know, that's a paper of the news. And this was December 15th, 2021 at 3 a.m. Pacific time. This person named LZ Granderson, who's a columnist. By the way, did you know? Did you know this? That the word blouse is a French word. So when men would wear shirts, if they were English or Saxon, when the French came in and took everything over, they said they were wearing blouses. Also, I think I think that there's a different word for like rooms and stuff too that we use. So anyways, this person named LZ Granderson, there's a movie that is coming out in I don't know, what is today, the 16th? So 9 days. There's a movie coming out. It's about Kurt Warner. If you don't know Kurt Warner, he was a football player for the St. Louis Rams before they went to Los Angeles, or back to Los Angeles. And he played in like 99, 2000, etc. He had gone... and he wasn't like, he wasn't drafted or anything. He wasn't all that good. He went and played Canadian stuff. He was a supermarket kid. I don't know. He did like a bunch of shit. Anyways, he's a Christian. It's a Christian film directed by Christians, etc., etc. I saw it, or I didn't see it, but I saw the preview for it, and I've got to tell you, I'm super excited to be unimpressed by this film. But I read this article just like an hour ago by LZ Granderson. I don't know that I put it into the source material that is actually in. I promise you, there is actual source material in the description of this video. In order to see it, though, you have to like and subscribe. No, that's a lie. And I'm not going to lie on this channel. You're going to get cold, hard facts and truth from me. That's not a joke. But I'm going to read the first part of this article, and if it's not linked in there, I'm going to link it. That way you can read it. It'll be linked in, if you will. He says there is a video making the rounds of a man in Kentucky playing the piano in the remains of a home after it was destroyed by one of the tornadoes that ripped through 8 states Friday night. His name is Jordan Bays. His sister, Whitney Brown, posted the video. I was standing in his bedroom, packing anything I could salvage, and I heard the most beautiful sound, Brown said. Music. But it wasn't just any song. With the roof of his house gone and debris all around, Bays sat at the piano to play the gospel song, There's Something About That Name, thanking God that he and his family were still alive. Sure, that's fair. It was a powerful show of faith. One that would certainly test my mettle, says L.G. Anderson, and perhaps yours as well. One that reminded me of an adage attributed to St. Francis of Assisi, which actor Zachary Levi shared with me in a recent conversation about Christianity and Hollywood. Preach the gospel at all times. Use words if necessary. For Bays to thank God in the midst of all that destruction says more about faith than nearly any sermon I have heard. Making a movie that handles faith with that kind of nuance is not easy. Levi's latest project, American Underdog, does a really nice job of it. The biopic follows the incredible journey of Kurt Warner from undrafted quarterback to Super Bowl MVP. The film in which Levi plays Warner is set to open in theaters on Christmas. What the fuck? Did you just compare a... Now, first off, I have issue. I have a massive issue with the premise of this film. I do. And with the first time that I watched the preview, I made it clear that it was like, thank God that Kurt Bulger tore his ACL in that game. Thank God that that happened. Hallelujah for a fucking injury. Because now Kurt can go do the footballs. Hallelujah, Jesus. I'm sorry, what? That's bad. This is fucking despicable. You just compared an actual tragedy of people dying, and this person mournfully at their piano playing a gospel song, having lost everything. How many dozens of people died from these tornadoes? How many more died yesterday? And your next sentence is making a movie that handles faith with that kind of nuance is not easy. I'm sorry, what kind of nuance? The kind that spawns tornadoes that travel for hundreds of miles and literally take everything from people, sometimes including their lives, and compare it to a football movie? Have I lost it? Or is it just pretty fucked up? Maybe I've lost it. Maybe that's what it is. We're going to find out today if I've actually lost it. But I just read this. And I don't know, chat, I need your help with this. Have I lost my fucking mind, or is this, to compare these two things, is how to use the story of this person with the roof of his house gone and debris all around. His house was gone. Like, and then to say, oh, he's got this movie that's coming out. I got to send my slides back to the beginning. Hold on. Oh, that is the beginning. Very good. Hey, did you see Caitlyn Jenner? You're going to see her again later. Yeah, pretty fucked up. I'm going to do my best, if I haven't already, to put that into... Oh, hey, Q. Yeah, look what I did. Yeah, the movie is American Underdog, by the way. It does come out in theaters on Christmas Day. I am not promoting it. I'm just saying, man, fuck that. That's messed up. Anyways, also apparently the former president 45, the leader of Cult 45, who was again somehow a person that we elected as president, was on Newsmax earlier today talking to former Arkansas governor. His daughter's running for governor now as well. That's his name again. What is his I forget his name. See, that's the thing. Hey, Kat, I think you're an admin now. Yeah, Mike Huckabee. Yeah, Huck Sands is his daughter run for governor. He sat down with the former president earlier today and said, hey, thank you for making them say Merry Christmas again. Because God literally knows that nobody was fucking saying Merry Christmas prior to you being president, except for that time that Barack Obama did it every year. But we don't talk about him. Or the people before him, or the people that did it all the time. We talk about the Joshua Feuersteins of the world. Thank you for forcing them to say, and in fact, if nothing else, you should condemn the people that burned down the Hanukkah Christmas tree. That was the American symbol of fucking liberty since 2019. Fox News. Hallelujah, Jesus, Hanukkah. Muslims, apparently, according to former Governor Huckabee, celebrate Christmas. I was unaware. But thank you so much, former President 45, for, for forcing them to say Merry Christmas. Don't let them say Happy Holidays anymore. There is no reason to be included. Mr. President, without you, there would be no fucking Christmas, which, as we all know, is something that Fauci has tried to eliminate. Damn, I hope Josh is okay. I really do. Those were things that happened after I had already done everything today. Twitter and such. Yeah. It's kind of messed up, man. Like thanks so much. Thank you for doing the Merry Christmasing. Stupid. Yeah, Huckabee. The sit down. Huckabee and 45. All right. So no, I don't have it in that LA Times article. I don't have it in there in the source material that is in the description of this video, which it already is in the description of the video. Look at me doing things and stuff by myself. And yes, we moved. We're in a new place, a new studio, everything. But let's talk about some news. I can see myself on the small screen. Let me see. See if this one will work. Bam! Look at that. There you go. Bruxy Cavey. I didn't actually look up how to say his name. So it could be Bruja Cave. Who grew the Meeting House, which is a church. Is actually a fairly liberal, if you will, church in I think it's in Minnesota. into a mega church with some 5,000 people attending 19 campuses in the larger Toronto metropolitan area, Minnesota, Toronto, same thing, was accused of sexual misconduct and placed on leave. He was accused of sexual misconduct by a woman who reported it to the church's overseers board, or their board of directors, last week. Now, this is actually kind of, one of those things. This is like, okay, well, Nathaniel, yeah, this is what you guys' channel talks about all the time. We get it. Pastors utilize their authority and how much people trust them and everything, and they go do stupid things and sexual misconduct, etc. Why is this different? Why are you bringing this to me again? I can't take the fact that there's just all these people that are never going to face any fucking consequence for all their shitty behavior. I know. But go with me on this. In a brief statement, Maggie John, chair of the Meeting House board, wrote Bruhai? I still didn't look up how to say his name, so I'm just gonna wing it. Has now been placed on a leave of absence while an external investigation takes place. We take these allegations very seriously and are committed to a thorough and transparent process. We are praying through this situation. All right. Oops. So let me go through this real quick. Woman reported the sexual misconduct last week. He's been placed on a leave of absence already this week. Right? They're using an external, independent investigation or investigatory committee. And they're going to go with whatever this independent external investigatings does. They're going to listen to whatever they find. This is, how do you say? Rare. This is a church that immediately responded, immediately placed him on leave, immediately went outside of the church, which is, as we know, what churches normally will do. And we do this. We see this is something that Susan and I have spoken about on numerous occasions. Churches will do, let's go ahead and do the cop thing and investigate ourselves and find ourselves, oh my gosh, it's crazy to find that we didn't do anything wrong. Oh my goodness, who knew that we were totally justified in all of our actions, we said. That's what usually happens, except in this case. I'm proud of this church. This is I'm proud of the Meeting House. Yeah, very Canadian. That does make sense. And there's also something else that I saw that happened, and it was some exchanges on Twitter regarding this. So this is actually, besides the fact that the church apparently is taking this so seriously, which, thank you, Meeting House Church, and all of that. Thank you for what you are doing. Oh, by the way, Susan, I forgot to mention to you this morning, I picked up some volunteer things with the Oregon Food Bank, I think later on this week or something, or next week, I forget. One of them is like at a church over down the street or something. I forgot to tell you, sorry. It's pronounced Mietenhus. That's when I say it, it sounds like it's in German. But there were a few things that happened on Twitter as well. So this is Greg Boyd. Greg Boyd is a Christian. He is an apologist, right? He's not necessarily an apologist. You wouldn't think of him as somebody like Dean Meadows or Mike Winger or anybody else that's, I don't know, not good. This Greg Boyd is actually a pretty good guy. And you can tell because Bot Sentinel says he's only 14%. On the 13th, he tweeted and said, "Please pray for my dear friend Brooks For the beloved community at the meeting house, and for the accusing woman and everyone else who has been or who will yet be directly affected by this. This is heartbreaking news for all of us. Now, if you are like me, and most of you who watch this are like me, God rest your soul, you read what he wrote and go, yeah, about this whole thing you just said, bruh. Maybe don't do my beer friend. Maybe don't do my dear friend, and maybe don't go accusing woman. And that's, of course, what you would expect from us. Me, I'm a damn liberal socialist coming to take your guns and burn down your city's Antifa. Also living in my parents' basement and soy boy cuck, beta cuck, if you will. So it's really weird, the life that I live. But he got a lot of pushback, and not from myself. I didn't even know about it. But I follow enough evangelicals on Twitter that it did make its way to my Twitter feed. And there was a sustained amount of pushback, and I'm going to share some of these responses to what he wrote with you. And I think that, I'll just read them. Randy says, the accusing woman, please rethink this tweet and try again. Conrad says, the accusing woman, Greg, we know you're friends with Brooks I, but we also know how this almost always plays out. Maybe sit this one out and don't pretend like it could go either way. This is incredibly insensitive to sexual abuse survivors. Adam says, Greg, I know you love Brooks, but you also know better than to use this language. My dear friend versus the accusing woman. Yes, prayer is due for everyone involved, but language matters. Scott says, my dude, you are teaching a masterclass in how to not respond to allegations of sexualized violence of a church leader. This is just not it. You just told all 36.6 thousand of your followers that you don't believe survivors and are not a safe person to come to. Mikey McDon't touch your face, best one I've seen, says, the accusing woman, there are better ways to phrase that. And then Dr. Joshua Brockway says, accusing woman is a dramatic dismissal of the bravery of the victim. Do I pray for the person? Certainly, the B person. But the heart of the prayer is for truth and repentance, not hedging in the vain hope that Anabaptist-ish pastors don't fall like mega pastors. This is a larger thing here, but this is from Jared McKenna, who says, this statement and podcast from Greg Boyd is a masterclass in how not to respond to an investigation. It's disturbing, inappropriate, unhelpful, and exposes serious theological failures that obstruct pursuing the truth, repentance, and healing justice. Greg, for to be spoken to in this manner, Greg had this response. I want to seriously thank all of you for this much needed feedback. I failed to acknowledge the power dynamics of the situation, and I can now see how my reference to the accusing woman was hurtful and indicated that I didn't believe her. The truth is that I applaud the meeting house for taking this woman seriously and for inviting outside investigators to get to the truth. I apologize to all I hurt with my reckless words, especially anyone who may now have a harder time coming forward with their own experience. I promise to learn from this mess I've created. Sincerely, Greg, a work still in progress or process. What just happened on Twitter, man? Did somebody write something on Twitter inadvertently stating something in a way that they thought they were being helpful? In this case, that there is a fairly well-known person, Greg Boyd, right, who said something in a way that he should not have said it, and then was told by people, hey, you shouldn't say it this way because of how this not only can be seen, but how it actually is harmful. And then he turned around and responded by saying, hey, thank you so much for bringing this to my attention because I didn't realize, and I'm going to do better moving forward. What is going on with the world? If by the way, you may not have noticed this, but there were many responses to him. The 99% of them, 99% of them were overwhelmingly in favor of him, or overwhelmingly critical of what he said. Obviously, you probably got some atheist dude bros in there being like, yo, let's go platform some more transphobes, right? But you didn't say anything wrong, dude. How are we going to know that? I mean, come on. It could be Richard Dawkins. It's perfectly fine. Richard Hickens was a totally cool dude. He wasn't a misogynistic piece of shit Islamophobe. Sprinkle. No, and then he responded with humility. But I chose, kind of at random, but kind of went through, and I chose some of the responses to him. And every single response that I showed here was from a white evangelical man. Don't know if you saw that. Every single one of them that I showed was from a white evangelical man. Yeah, part of the woke mob, if you will. The side of my mustache doesn't want to stay up, and I don't get it. But yeah, there's this idea that exists that racism can only be fixed by those affected by racism, when in fact the ones who are to stand in the face of and tear down the systemic white supremacy that exists in our country are those of us who most take advantage of the system of white supremacy. That is true. The work is not to be done by those who are abused, but rather the work is to be done by those who either abuse or live advantageously because of said abuse. To see, and I recommend, by the way, I put these links are in the description of the video. You can see the source material. I recommend going and reading them because I chose just a few. I think of 5 or 6 of them, right? There's hundreds and hundreds of them. These are white evangelical Christian men. And yes, of course, there are women in there. Absolutely. There are LGBT people in there. There are people who are not religious in there. Absolutely. But I want to put that focus on that because the old phrase, I think, is police your own, right? Which makes sense. But also, we are here to hold each other accountable. If I turn and do something which is antithetical to everything that I say that I stand for and everybody that I say that I'm here to protect, then I should be held accountable for my actions and my words. And I am proud of these hundreds of people for coming out and saying, hey, I see what you're trying to do here, bruh. Stop it. And then there is this. How low is the bar that's all it takes? How much work needs to be done that's so easy? that we can see that easily, that we can see it. It's so endemic. Cool X. Oh, you only missed a little bit of stuff, but I have already kind of sprinkled. It's so pervasive that even saying, my bad, I shouldn't have said the accusing woman, is somehow putting Greg Boyd even higher on a pedestal than he might ought to be for doing the bare minimum of saying, yeah, I shouldn't have said that. He is now seen as almost like a saint, because that's how far the bar has fallen. So I believe that we should applaud the Meeting House Church for what they have done and how quickly they've responded and how they went to an outside investigator, how it's independent, how they graciously went about this process. And I think that we should acknowledge that Greg Boyd realized, after being told over and over and over again what he said was harmful, right? But then also say, the reason we're having this conversation is because it's like, I don't know, the first time it's ever fucking happened. This is something that we need to do in our circles as well. Holding each other accountable and saying, hey, this is how this is harmful, is something that we should always be doing. Neil. And Ethan, I saw that you had rationality rules on your channel last night. Super crazy you would do that since you knew what he was talking about. It's crazy. I'm naming names, motherfuckers. You think I care about you? I respond to you on Twitter when you say you're an ally. You're not a fucking ally. But we'll get to that later. Later on. What's next? Faith leaders were arrested while protesting in support of the Build Back Better bill. Can we name it something else, please? Because all I can think of is the Better Business Bureau and how I know that they're somehow corrupt. But also, we've come to help you get free, but if you don't want to get free, you're going to get your foot the hell off of our necks. The Reverend William Barber, co-chair of the Poor People's Campaign, said of politicians who oppose the legislation. Kirsten Sinema, Joe Manchin. Leaders from the Disciples of Christ, union representatives, members of the Sunrise Movement, and a youth, which is a youth-led climate change advocacy group, the UUA, which is the United Universalist, right? That's what it is. The National Council of Jewish Women, and speakers from over 30 different states went to Washington, D.C. the other day, and they said, hey, maybe we should have the voting rights thing. Maybe it should be like easier to vote. I don't know. Crazy to think that's the case. Maybe we should, maybe we should kind of focus on this whole climate change thing. Might be a good idea to do that, to move away from, I don't know, coal and oil and stuff like that. Something that Rationality Rules doesn't necessarily agree with. Crazy. Maybe we should work together with one another across these, and I've mentioned this, cultural, religious, and other types of societal boundaries, to come together to understand the only way that we can possibly move forward is by working with one another and combating these things together. During a speech to the crowd, the Reverend William Barber, co-chair of People's Campaign, which largely supported the event, expressed support for a number of liberal causes. Notice, by the way, that voting rights and ending the use of the filibuster, but liberal cause, fighting climate change, voting rights are considered liberal causes. They were arrested, by the way. They were arrested because they went in front of the Capitol and they marched into the streets and intentionally blocked traffic. Of course, as rationality rules would say, that's not giving yourself the best look, guys. You might be alienating some people by blocking traffic. I'd like to again remind people that he was on a show last night. I'm doing my best to keep it out of politics, but it is interesting to see, if you will, it's interesting to read this and to see that these things are considered liberal causes, political causes. Making something easier to vote, or making it easier for a person to vote, is considered a liberal cause. That is where we live right now. That's sending money to Kentucky to help after the climate did a change on them is considered liberal. Maybe I'm just maybe we need a different timeline or something, man. I don't know. You guys are gonna love this nonsense. Christian finance expert Dave Ramsey has been sued for religious discrimination. A former Ramsey employee says his religious beliefs, the former employee, teach him to trust science and protect his family. That allegedly put him in conflict with his COVID skeptic boss. A former employee of Christian finance guru Dave Ramsey is suing his former boss for religious discrimination, claiming he was fired for putting his faith in science and not prayer during the COVID-19 pandemic, which is still the ongoing pandemic. Lawyers for Brad Amos filed a complaint Monday, which is this one, in the U.S. District Court for the Middle District of Tennessee. I'm guessing that's like that's not where Eastern Tennessee State University is. I don't know. Alleging there was as X has put this, cult-like environment at the Lampo Group LLC, the company that Ramsey leads near Nashville. The complaint claims that Lampo, better known as Ramsey Solutions, violated Title VII of the Civil Rights Act by requiring employees to abide by Ramsey's religious beliefs about COVID-19. Now, this isn't the first time that we've actually come across Mr. Ramsey, and so we're going to look at some other things that have kind of, like, let's just say, happened with him. So in the spring of 2020, Heather Folk's husband, John, was working as a developer for Ramsey Solutions, a job that offered great coworkers and a family-friendly schedule. The company's mission was something John could believe in. Heather, mind you, was more skeptical. For one thing, there was a spousal interview. In his 2011 book, Entre Leadership, which is the only way that I can read that, Ramsey recommends that companies vet spouses to make sure their hire is not, quote, married to crazy. Interesting to think that you assume I would be married. When hiring someone, you are employing more than just the person, his website says. You're taking on the whole family. And when they are married to someone who is domineering, unstable, or simply full of drama, Ramsey, you'll end up with a team member who can't be creative, productive, or excellent, Ramsey. Heather Folk balked, which is a baseball term, but in this sense, not a baseball term. She didn't want to work for Ramsey. Her husband did. She had no desire to risk being labeled a, quote, crazy spouse or to cost her husband a job. But after John got the position, the company had little impact on their personal life, except for their feeling that they had to keep their credit card a secret. Consumer debt is a Ramsey no-no. All right. Now, regarding coronavirus, from the beginning, he downplayed the virus. In his March 2nd, 2020 radio show began with a long rant against the news media who he said were overstating the threat. You would think that the Black Plague was coming through the United States, listening to people whine. You guys have lost your mind out there. Let me just say, the Black Plague would not be listening to people whine, syntax necessity. He went on to say that the virus only affected the weak and infirm, and that everyone else should get on with business as usual. He vowed to keep the company's live events rolling, warning there would be no refunds. Quote, "We have people calling in. They are wanting to cancel stuff for a live event in May. Let me tell you how much of your money I'm going to give you back if you don't come for the coronavirus in May. 0. I'm keeping your fucking money. You're a wuss." Oh, by the way, there was supposed to be there was a cruise that was scheduled. He had a cruise scheduled as well, in which he said, "I don't care if none of you come and it's only me. I'm the only one that's going. I'm going to go by myself." The cruise was canceled. He didn't go. So empty threats. Anyways. So Heather went on because he wanted to bring everybody back and said John's company wants to bring all 900 employees back ASAP. This is a Facebook post. "When a majority can do their work from home, I do not understand how people don't see we are setting ourselves up for a huge second wave. Ugh, people make me so angry." Or, if you will, people fucking piss me off. Heather, I'm with you, girl. Lonely Island. No, I missed one. I think I did miss one. Let me see. Oh well, I did miss one. Oh well. This right here, by the way, this Facebook post, it led to her husband being fired. Her Facebook post on her personal Facebook, not her husband's Facebook, her personal Facebook post led to her husband getting fired. Like, HR literally said that. In mid-May, someone at Ramsey Solutions filed an anonymous complaint with the OSHA. Could have been me, who knows? I've done that. I've been known to do that. Alleging that the company was not doing enough to prevent the spread of COVID-19. That led to an angry tirade from Ramsey during a staff meeting. After ranting about how the pandemic was affecting his golf game, he said the company had told OSHA it was not going to do anything in response to the complaint. So whoever you are, you moron, you did absolutely no good except to piss me off. You are not welcome here if you are willing to do stuff like that. If you are really scared and you really think that the leadership is trying to kill you, please, we love you, just leave. We really don't want you here. He then went on and warned employees not to contact anyone outside the building with their concerns. If you really think the people here are evil, bad people, and you think you can affect change by reaching outside of here, you are wrong and you are not welcome. Against the recommendation of his board and every other fucking lawyer on the planet, Ramsey said he felt duty-bound to talk about it because, quote, "I love this place and I really don't want any morons here." Mirror check. If he found out the person's identity, he continued, I will fire you instantaneously for your lack of loyalty, your lack of class, and the fact that you are a moron and you snuck through our hiring process. He then went on to gaslight his employees and telling them how much he loved them and how this place was the best place to... Literally is retaliation. You cannot retaliate against somebody who does an anonymous fucking complaint to OSHA. You can't. It violates like all of the civil rights acts. You simply can't do it. You can't... You're recorded saying you will retaliate. You can't do that. And also, you don't get to turn around and say, hey, OSHA, fuck you. I mean, you can, but then you get to turn around and say, oh, wow, these fines are pretty fucking hefty. Who knew? Now, of course, doubts about the company began to creep into this other individual's life. In 2014, after a 2014 incident that came to be known as Twittergate, not to be confused with Gamergate, which we will get into. After several anonymous Twitter accounts began to make fun of the company culture, the Daily Beast reported at the time, Dave Ramsey offered bounties during a staff meeting for anyone who would identify the tweeters. It was me, Dave. The Daily Beast also reported in 2011 that Ramsey pulled out a gun to make a point about how much he hated gossip. A detail that a company official would later confirm in a deposition. Since that time, Ramsey has boasted to his staff about carrying a gun at all times. Oh, wow. Oh, that's not terrifying. In July 2020, Caitlin O'Connor, a former Ramsey Solutions employee, sued the company, claiming she had been fired after requesting maternity leave in the summer of 2020. According to the lawsuit, O'Connor emailed Lopez, the HR chief, on June 18th, asking for accommodations under the Federal Family and Medical Leave Act and the Americans with Disabilities Act because she was, count them, 12 weeks pregnant. Or if you would like, 6 weeks past the abortion deadline in Texas. A week later, after meeting with two members of Ramsey's operating board, O'Connor was fired for being pregnant and not married, according to the lawsuit. Now, board members and Lopez told her it was because she had violated the company's code of conduct. The lawsuit claims the company's righteous living core values, quote, discriminates against employees who do not strictly adhere to Ramsey's interpretation of Judeo-Christian values for non-work-related behavior. Ramsey's lawyers denied any of this discrimination, of course. It says defendant admits that plaintiff's employment was terminated because she engaged in premarital sex. It's in violation of its core values, premarital sex. The day after the news of the lawsuit broke, Ramsey defended the company's policies during his regular Wednesday Devo meeting, a mandatory all-company chapel service. He said employees, the policies were necessary to maintain a predictable, safe, and, quote, godly culture. Without them, he said, Ramsey would just be like any other company, a cesspool of sex and racism and hashtag Me Too's. Is that what you think people get up to? And like, let me tell you, I just worked for Samsung for like 2.5 fucking years. All right. Never once, not even one time did I get a cesspool even. I didn't even get a cess of a pool. Where's all the sex? Sex outside of marriage is wrong, he told employees, according to a recording obtained by RNS, Religious News Service. Thanks, X. I'm just saying. Where all this cesspool of sex happening? I ain't getting any of that. Ramsey Solutions former employees and their spouses say it is more like a church than a business. A review of court documents, company emails, and recordings of staff. I'm trying to hold it together here. This is going to come home and be like, yeah, what the fuck was that? You were expecting a Charming video? Not in here. But you will get to hear me talk about atheist transphobes, so stick around, doorknob. That's basically like a fucking cult. At a staff meeting in July, Ramsey railed at his staff, speaking of sex, I guess, after an employee sued Ramsey Solutions for firing her for having premarital sex, which is against company policy. I'm sick of dealing with all this stuff, Ramsey said. According to a recording obtained by Religion News Service, I'm so tired of being falsely accused of being a jerk when all I'm doing is trying to help people stay in line. This is like this is the Jim Jonesiest of fucking cults, man. On his leadership blog, Ramsey defended his rights to enforce a moral code and to fire people for doing things like extramarital affairs. I've got a right to tell my employees whatever I want to tell them, he wrote. They fucking work for me. Yeah, except you don't. You don't get to do that. Because you are, because Ramsey Solutions is a public company. It is a secular company. It's not a church. You don't get to do that. You violated like all of the chapter 7s. Like pick a chapter in the Bible that has 7 chapters. You violated all of them. I think that's like 60 of the 66 books. That and all these other ones as well about civil rights and such. You violated all of them. Like, it's that fucking dictator. They work for me. I own them. No, man. This ain't the antebellum South, bro. Although you would probably like that. I'm not going to, okay, fine. Alleged, in my mind, you would like it. Okay, and just based on everything that you have put together here and since 2011, all the bullshit nonsense, Jesus Christ, that you have done, it makes it seem as though you would have enjoyed, I don't know, owning people. Because it seems like something that you want to. Let me just look at this again. Hold on. I've got a right to tell my employees whatever I want to tell them. They freaking work for me. Fucking dictator, man. Next! So this article has been making the rounds on social media and, as always, has been completely mischaracterized by atheists. You guys are great about this. About 3 in 10 U.S. adults are now religiously unaffiliated. Self-identified Christians make up 63% of the U.S. population in 2021, down from 75% a decade ago. Now, Christmas, of course, is just 10 days away, 9 days by my calendar. And most Americans will celebrate the birth of Jesus. Hallelujah. But a new poll from Pew shows the share of U.S. adults who consider themselves Christian is falling. Only 63% of Americans self-identify as Christian, a marked drop from 75% 10 years ago. The declining number of Americans who say they are Christian is offset by a growing number of people who call themselves atheist, agnostic, or people of no particular faith. These unaffiliated Americans make up a full 29% of the U.S. population, up from 19% in 2011. Now, you might be wondering, this sounds like more atheists. Why is Nathaniel saying, that's me, by the way, again, why am I saying that it doesn't mean that there's automatically more atheists. Well, that's the big crux of the conversation, ain't it? Among U.S. adults, 1 in 5 now describe their religion as nothing in particular. So you check a look at these numbers from 2007, and you look at atheist. It's the far left one next to the years. And you can see it's gone up a whopping 2 percentage points. Agnostic has gone from 2 to 5. Hello. Nothing in particular has gone 8 percentage points. I've gone over this time and time and time again, and I think it's already been mentioned in the chat as well. Being a nun does not mean that you are an atheist, that you are agnostic. It doesn't mean that you don't believe in a God or innumerable numbers of gods. It simply means that you don't currently subscribe to a religion. You don't currently belong to a religion. Stop it, atheists. You don't automatically own people who don't go to fucking church. All right? And maybe if you'd be nicer to them, they might come out to you more. Maybe, just maybe, if you were more accepting of people who didn't look like you white atheist dudes. I'm agnostic. I don't count. Yeah, a lot of just spiritual. You got like the yogis and stuff down there, right? Maybe if you were more accepting of them. Maybe if you weren't so angry about everything. Maybe if you didn't platform transphobes. I don't know. Weird. Who's the guy that CGW survey, the CJW surveys or something? I don't know. Yeah. Deception. You're watching some deception on the sound waves. You're welcome. Welcome in. Happy to see you. 57 minutes of it so far. Like, stop it. Stop assuming that everybody that doesn't go to church is automatically an atheist. And secondarily, stop being toxic garbage. Neighbors are arguing. Who knows about what? But stop doing those things. We'll get to that in a second, though. This is one of my favorite things. This is on the 8th of December, out of the Religion News Service. It's an opinion piece, and it says someone is killing Republicans and Trump voters. Yeah, it's COVID, man. it's COVID. Like, that's the thing. Also, death is coming for them because they are the oldest people, the oldest voting demographic. The white people that voted for the former president and also voted for all the Republican people the other old white people that are in Congress and SCOTUS, basically. Like, it's COVID, bruh. Yes, we know. I appreciate that. He says, since May 2021, people living in counties that have voted heavily for the former guy during the last presidential election have been nearly 3 times as likely to die from COVID-19 as those living in areas went for now President Biden. People living in counties that went 60% or higher for former fella in November 2020 had 2.7 times the death rates of those that went for Biden. Counties with an even higher share of the vote for Trump, yeah, I said his name, saw higher COVID-19 mortality rates. Yeah, it's true. And the reason that they're doing this, by the way, and this was a fairly easy thing. Who's killing them? The media and their political figures. This was easy. I didn't even need to read the rest of the article. It says, ironically, it is conservative political media and religious elites who are causing these deaths by undermining public health directives aimed at protecting people from COVID-19. Science tells us that the best way to combat COVID is through vaccination, mask wearing, and social distancing. These practices have been attacked by many conservative leaders, and it is killing Republican voters. Yeah, that's the thing. You're trying to convince people who subscribe to this idea of like lizards and baby-eating Hillary Clintons and whatnot. That science is something they should follow. But I realized Jordan Klepper went to SoCal and found some like people who were doing the spirituality thing and saying, basically you can, like enema out COVID or whatever. I get that, but that's the minority of people. Of liberals when it comes to vaccines and to public health measures. If you want to know what the safest state in the country when it comes to COVID-19 is, I'm sitting in it right now. Oregon, which has a higher population than like everything in the Midwest, is like 48th in COVID infection rates and like 47th or 48th in COVID death rates. There is no more irreligious city in the country than Portland. I would say that it is very unlikely you could find many cities which are more liberal than Portland. And yet, here we are, the lowest like in the country, man. Also, some of the highest vaccination rates. But you're out here trying to convince people who are doing like Jewish space lasers and bamboo fibers in Arizona and shit. And by the way, again, I need to mention one more time, by the way, that there was literally a private company that went to Maricopa County in Arizona in June or July, and they went down there in a big ass truck and they got all of this data and all of these votes of all this and all this other voter data, and they took it back to Montana, which is, as I understand, not Arizona, and they put it onto private property where nobody could see what the fuck they were doing with it, and nobody knows even today. That's a thing that happened. 4 million votes. But you're trying to convince these people that science, that's your problem. He says evangelical leaders have done worse than the Catholics. Not only have the number of anti-vax preachers died of COVID-19, 73% of evangelical congregants say they have heard nothing from their clergy about vaccines. The anti-vaxxers have won by scaring faith leaders into silence. That is a very true and very damning and very terrifying sentence. Mr. Reese says it's too late for hundreds of thousands of COVID-19 victims who could have been saved if they had been vaccinated. But there is still time to save hundreds of thousands more if conservative leaders come to realize that they are killing their base. Progressives cannot save Trump voters because they have no credibility with conservatives. It is up to conservative leaders to save their own. And, he's right. But they won't. We're not still in this mess that we're still in, by the way, because of something that this current administration has done. They have not been anywhere near as forceful as they, in my opinion, should have been. They have not been nowhere near as effective in strategizing and in really kind of broadcasting. Like, come on, just today, President Biden is at like 49% approval rating or something like that. And I'm just sitting here going, what has he done that's so wrong? Now, mind you, actually quite a bit. He has the immigration bullshit and stuff like that. That's a bit of an issue that he's. But that's it. Has it named something? Is it because of the headphones? Is it a tan suit again? Is it a hot dog with mustard? It is. And then also, atheists, man, agnostics, y'all gotta stop. Stop saying it's not a tragedy when people die from COVID-19, because it is. Stop saying that if you don't get the vaccine, you shouldn't get hospital care. Stop it. It's not okay to say that. I want them to get vaccinated as much as anybody else. I despise what they are saying and doing as much as anybody else. But nobody wants to hear about a person with a 2-year-old who was duped into believing nonsense, literal dangerous nonsense to the point that he died. Nobody wants that. And we have to do better when it comes to reacting to those types of things. I'm angry that we're still in this. I'm mad at them. I am. I know whose fault this is. I know whose fault it's not. I am so mad at them. These things that we do not need. People are dying unnecessarily. And yes, many of the people that are dying unnecessarily are them. But that's no better than if it would have been somebody that you know. Please remember that they are people. If you call yourself a humanist at all, however you might define it, Richard Dawkins, who Rationality Rules totally defends, if you call yourself a humanist at all, you've got to consider that. They're people. They've been lied to. Some of them are Nazis. What are you going to do? Then there's this, and I'll get into the last point of the day. This one's going a little bit longer because it's been 2 months since I've been on, but this one's going a little bit longer. I think this is in San Francisco, California. Menlo Church investigation finds no direct evidence or disclosures of sexual abuse. The third-party investigation at one of Northern California's most prominent megachurches that consumed its congregation and former pastor's fractious family ended this week with a report that found no evidence that the pastor's adult child had acted on his confessed attraction to minors. After interviewing 104 witnesses and reviewing or analyzing more than 500,000 documents, Zero Abuse Projects did not find any disclosure or other direct evidence the volunteer in question sexually abused a child, said the report by the firm hired by Menlo Church near San Francisco. Let me do this again here. There we go. Oh, okay. In 2018, one of Pastor John Ortberg's sons confessed to his father to having long been sexually attracted to children between the ages of 8 and 13. He stressed that he had never and would never act on his attraction, understanding that it was wrong, and brought it to his father because he was so distraught that those were the thoughts that he was having. And by the way, I have linked the full 117-page report in the description of the video in the source page. Please, if you would take the time to go and read it. It is worth your time to do that, because this person who is identified as individual A came forward to his father. He was a volunteer, and his father said okay and did not tell anybody. He also didn't contact the authorities. And for me, I read into this, and I have to tell you, I don't agree with his father keeping it to himself and not informing the church leadership, and also leaving his, which the person would be his son, on these volunteer staffs. But I do agree with him not going to the police because, and as this has been found out by over how many different conversations they had with how many different people, including the people that were closest to this individual A. I read into this, and I read this a lot. Minor attracted persons. Let me see if I can read this. There is no cure which will remove a sexual orientation toward children. Having an attraction to minors is no different, not in the way that it is that action is different than attraction. But you can't help who you are attracted to. I can't help who I am attracted to, and minor attracted persons cannot help who they are attracted to. The actions obviously are different, quite obviously different, grotesquely different, which is actually something that person A stated very clearly in his depositions. What happened to this person as I read through this 117-page document, as I read through this, it seemed as though they were investigating him as if he had committed a crime. That I don't. What is his life going to be like now? Like I hurt for this young man. Very much I do. His father made the wrong choice. And he is the one who has to pay the consequence for something that he cannot help. Something that he told the investigators that his attraction to these younger people was out of a love to get them to Christ. And he said he hated it. The person, by the way, that did come forward, his name is Daniel Lever. I forget his last name now. Is person A's older brother. Who's a trans man. Actually, Daniel does the like Dear Prudence or something for Slate magazine or something like that. And sent an email to the church leadership, which used language which was unnecessary, saying obsessing over children, when that simply wasn't the case. There has to be a change. This is not okay. Putting barriers in place, providing counseling, putting barriers in place to ensure that these children are safe, and that this person, understandably so, should not be in a position to where there's even the possibility of abuse. But at the same time, we need to change the conversation. You know what? These two are not the same, because there is nothing that can compare to child abuse, child sexual abuse. But to let me give something. Rape is a crime. Rape fantasy is not. Rape porn is not a crime. Again, the two are not the same. There is nothing that can compare to child sexual abuse. There's not. But we need to rethink the conversation. We have to. We have to rethink the conversation. If we don't, we risk losing even more people. And finally, there's this. Just to prove that men are better at everything, we won Woman of the Year. It's funny, right? Super funny. It's funny, isn't it? Making fun of trans people's funny, right? Right? Isn't it? Just because Caitlyn Jenner is a Republican, right? We can totally misgender her. It doesn't really matter. I mean, is she even really a woman? Let's have the conversation. Is Caitlyn Jenner even really a woman? Let's define gender roles here. Let's actually. Wasn't Caitlyn Jenner in the Olympics back when she was the other I refuse to use dead names. I just can't do it. I'm so sorry. Right. So but let's talk about gender roles in the Olympics and sports. Man, if only there was some sort of idea that we could possibly have. I see that Susan wrote me. Did you write me again, Susan? Oh. All right. that a conversation that we could possibly have, I don't know, maybe a couple of years ago, that would have anything to do with trans people in sports. It's like, oh, it's drawing a fucking blank here. Huh. What about if we could have something like Richard Dawkins, right? Where, Richard Dawkins, you know what I'm talking about, Richard Dawkins, right? Richard Dawkins, the guy who no longer has the Humanist Award, right? Apparently that's called cancel culture. And it's atheist cancel culture, and it's not okay. Apparently, I don't know. I've watched Rationality Rules video on it. He defends Dawkins. Of course he does. He also has these ideas about trans women in sports and these things. And when he's called out on them, it's this thing where when he calls out, when they're called out, he says, oh, one of my sources was maybe a little bit problematic. Let me go ahead and just donate the money that I have from this and give it to trans causes. And hey, look at me, I'm all better now and such. Yeah, I'm still going to leave the video up. I'm going to demonetize it, though. I'm going to leave the video up. I'm going to demonetize it, though. But it's still going to be there. And also, here's a follow-up. The video is still there. And also, I'm going to go ahead, if I'm Rationality Rules, I'm going to have a conversation. A conversation. Just a quick one. A few of them. With Sargon of Akkad. You ever heard of Gamergate? Anybody in the chat ever heard of Gamergate? If you may have, because I hadn't until, like, I didn't know the full context of Gamergate until I started doing this research into this Sargon fella. Gamergate, if you don't know, was oh yeah, he is. He's on Rationality Rules' channel multiple times in friendly conversation. I'm going to give a quote that Rationality Rules, Steven, I guess I'm going to call him Steven from now on. Here in a second, I actually put it on Twitter earlier today. If you'd like to see it, you can go look at my Twitter. The Sargon of Akkad was the one that started Gamergate. With his millions of followers on YouTube. Seriously, go look him up. Attacking women. And I mean literally attacking women. People went out of their way, men, went out of their way to attack women. In some of the most toxic, abusive, demeaning, sexist, misogynistic, absolutely dangerous stuff that I have ever seen. And you know what Rationality Rules say? He said, if I don't platform this guy, how are people going to know what his views are? You know, if I don't have a conversation with Stefan Molyneux, how are people going to know what his white supremacist anti-Semitic views even are? Is a literal question that he asked on his channel. How could we possibly know the views of a white supremacist? I mean, yeah, I remember when I did this video a few months back I remember that one time that I said, because I was talking about modern day debate and how modern day debate platforms Nazis for a debate about Nazis. What do you expect to learn from the Nazis that you don't already know about the Nazis? They're gonna fucking Nazi. That's what Nazis do. And Critical Cripple, I completely fucking disagree with you in every way with that. I do not, will not, and cannot abide by platforming fucking white supremacist pieces of shit. Misogynistic, transphobic pieces of garbage. I will not make excuse. I stand by this principle on every fucking thing. Everything. They have their platform. We know what they stand for. They march in my fucking streets. I know what they stand for. Jews will not replace us. Remember that bullshit? They march in my streets. Having them on is reasonable? You and I have different definitions of reasonable, sir. I don't bring Nazis onto my channel. I don't give them excuses. I don't bring transphobes onto my channel, and I don't give them excuses. There is no conversation to be had with a fucking transphobe, with a white supremacist, with a Nazi. If that makes this channel lose all 677 fucking subscribers, good. I didn't want you anyway. The harm that people like Sargon did and continue to do. And you want to sit down and have a friendly conversation with him? Well, let me give you here's an example of something that Stephen said to Sargon, by the way. Where did it go? Where did I put it? Where did it go? Where did I put it on Twitter, didn't I? Didn't I put it on Twitter? I really feel like I put it on Twitter. Here's what he said. This is something that Stephen, Rationality Rules, said to Sargon. I agree with you that it has nothing to do with race. It's just to do with poverty, to do with those circumstances. Perhaps it's a mistake to identify that with skin color. He was agreeing with Sargon regarding white privilege. It has nothing to do with race, he said. Those are his words. I quoted him. And by the way, I have to thank X for the amount of conversations that we have had, as well as your steadfast stance on this, and Godless Cranium. They have been phenomenal. We've had many conversations, both publicly and privately. Thank you. But that's one thing that he said. You want to give your platform to a person that says something like that? You know, Ethan, friendly neighborhood atheist, who just had Stephen on last night. You want to give your platform to a person who still holds transphobic views, who platforms white supremacists and says that white privilege has nothing to do with skin color, nothing to do with race? Neil? I considered Neil a friend. The moment you call Stephen your friend, it's the moment that I'm done. I forget his name, but the person who is ex Jehovah's Witness. And the people that I've brought this to privately, like, hey, did you know? One person told me I had no idea he hadn't been uncanceled, not Telltale. It's like CJW or something like that. It's Chris or Cedars, something, I forget. He said, they said, I had no idea that he hadn't been uncanceled. Yeah, Lloyd. Yes, exactly. But we platform him. We decided that his rhetoric is okay. We decided, apparently we decided that he did his time. We decided that it's a-okay to take photos with your friend Sargon. It's a-okay to do that, apparently. Just no problem. Yeah, Lloyd Evans, thank you. That's Stephen's his buddy. Jenna Belk, I can't imagine what they're going through right now. Because at least 2 years ago, people saw the transphobia for what it was and called him out on it. En masse. Called him out. There's a whole hubbub about it, remember? Remember that, right? Where it was like, motherfucker, this is fucked up stuff. Today, Jenna Belk understands the harm that is caused by these types of actions, especially by the actions of those who are involved down in the atheist community of Austin. And they decide to step down, to step aside. And there are plenty of people who are attacking them. For what? Having the gall to stand up against this stuff? This hurts me a lot. there's a part of me that wonders, Nathaniel, are you too extreme for this? Because I've gone from 2015 Nathaniel saying, maybe black people, Black Lives Matter or whatever, but maybe black people shouldn't, I don't know, be rioting and stuff. Literally, it was something I said. To now calling out people by name because they platform a person who says transphobic things and who platforms white supremacists and says that it's a mistake to identify white privilege with skin color. And so there's a part of me that says, Nathaniel, you might be being a little bit extreme with this, like maybe, and this is some of the, this is some of the, this is some of the things that people have told me. Well, like Neil is doing things like for the greater good. And so hearing something from somebody who has such a following is actually like a good thing, because all the transphobia and stuff, that stuff doesn't matter. Right? Like all of the platforming of white supremacists and saying that white privilege is not about skin color, not about race, it's about poverty, right? And all of that stuff, and sharing a laugh and a milkshake with Sargon. That was the thing, by the way. Shared a laugh via milkshake with Sargon. That was a thing. And I think, like maybe, and there's that part of me, but then that's like, maybe you're going too extreme. But then there's a part of me that's like, no, this causes real harm. People are hurt by this. And having this person on your channel, they go look at his other stuff. I don't care that he demonetized the video where he straight up was fucking transphobic, as if the next video that he did was actually any better. Because the video is still there. And that means people go and watch that. And they start to agree with him. And then they go watch his other videos, which are monetized. And he makes money off of his transphobia and off of his platforming of fucking Stefan Molyneux and Sargon and having jokes and taking little smiley ass photos with a fucking misogynistic white supremacist motherfucker. I'm happy when Andy Ngo got hit in the fucking head with a milkshake. I wish it had happened to you, piece of shit. What do you gain? This was the thing, and I was it's one line in a song, but it's from a Christian song, and I showed it to Susan the other day. The entire song is there's stuff in the song, that has nothing to do with this, and it's also Kirk Franklin's in it too, so that's kind of problematic. But I want to do well with what we do here, and we have a video that's coming out within the next week. That's the last of a 4-part series with Luke. The Luke consensus and stuff like that. And we have that coming out, and it's really cool. I think you're really going to like it. And I really know that Frustrated Atheist is going to love it. And I would like to do well with this, and I would like to be able to spread a message that's positive and inclusive and promotes equity and equality and equality, not inequality, and all this other stuff. I want to do that. but I will not do it. I will not take fame and numbers and money and to just ignore harm. The harm that I allow in the song, and it's a song by Toby Mac, right? He says, I don't want to gain the whole world and lose my soul. I never want to succeed at the expense of somebody else. I never could. And that's, you know what? If I pissed you off, good. Go elsewhere. You want to defend Stephen? You want to defend people platforming him? Cool. Didn't want your sub in the first place. You want to defend Peter Boghossian, Richard Dawkins, Sam Harris, Chris Hitchens, all of them? Get you mad when I mention that? Bye. I don't. Why would I want you here? There's a transphobe waiting for you on Steven's channel. Actually, it's also on Neil's channel and on Lloyd Evans's channel and the friendly. Oh, I saw a lag there. I hope, though, that if this, yeah, I saw that. Sorry. I'm sorry. I think it's has to do with the GoPro. Yeah, I lagged for a second. Is it still? Hold on. Yeah, there we go. Okay. If it's made you mad at me, I don't care. I don't. You need to go check in the mirror. But if this has made you mad, if the thought of this person having these platforms has made you mad, at the expense of other people has made you mad, I don't get along with what's his name, Godless Engineer, very much at all, right? He and I, we got a profound disagreement on how to do lexicography, in that he doesn't know what the fuck it is. But he's not wrong when he says, don't be afraid to stand up and use your voice. You've got one. I'm a condescending asshole. And I know that. I don't always try to be. I do sometimes try to be. Yeah, I like John. I like John enough. I think he's a little over his head on some of these subjects, like, I don't know, lexicographer. Called out Jimmy Snow a long time before things, though, didn't I? Yes, I did. Just gonna take that one. People are, I think, still watching him as well. It's not okay, man. And I hope that I hope that people start to see it again. More and more people are becoming non-religious. The amount of people who are coming out and saying that they're not just nuns, but that they are actually atheist or agnostic is still rising. If we don't make room for them and accept them, don't go through the angry atheist nonsense. Jesus Christ, fat shaming? Are you serious, angry black atheist? The fuck is wrong with you? Like, could you be more misogynistic? I get it. You're doing angry black or angry atheist face and all that bullshit. But Jesus Christ. Dude, calm your toxicity. For real. But we have to make room for people. We have to make safe spaces for people. There are people in the American South who are LGBT, who need safe spaces to where they can tell their stories. Or Black Atheist Rants, thank you. Where they can tell their story and where they can be accepted. And we don't have that right now. We don't. We just don't. The Line. That's, you gotta watch when I was on The Line. PNW Pandemic Beard. That's a fun one. That's where John hung up on me because I asked him if he knew anything about lexicography. He doesn't. And I have like an actual Greek English lexicon like sitting over there. You can read it sometime. But yeah, that's it. This is like, the thing just said live 5 minutes and 20 seconds. I don't think that's accurate. But that's it for this show. We have in less than a week an episode, the final episode of the Response to Inspiring Philosophies Lucan Census. 300 seconds, you're timed out. That's going to be out within a week. And like I said, I think the Frustrated Atheist is really going to like it. I think you guys are going to like it too. It's going to be a little bit of a longer video, but it's going to be worth it, especially at the end, I promise. Special reveal at the end. And then I'm still going to do Ben Shapiro's book. I just got to find the time to do it. Thanks so much for watching. Susan, Maya, Titan, Critical Crip, Dave, X, Titan, Doorknob, Cat, everybody that I missed in the chat. Sorry. I love you guys. We don't have to agree on every subject, but don't you dare come at me and pretend like it's okay to platform transphobes and white supremacists. Because it's not. And every single time that you go in, I talked myself into it. Every time that you go in and you go to their channels and you chat in their live streams, first off, I see you. Other people see you too. But tacit endorsements are a thing. I love you guys. We'll see you next week.